In a world hidden from the public eye, a covert team of immortal mercenaries, Andy, Booker, Joe, and Nikki, have walked through centuries of war, conflict, and rescue missions, using their unexplained regenerative healing abilities to influence world events from the shadows. Their long-standing rule is simple: never work for the same employer twice. But when former CIA operative James Copley approaches them with an urgent plea to rescue a group of kidnapped schoolgirls in South Sudan, they reluctantly agree. The mission, however, turns out to be a carefully planned trap. Ambushed and seemingly killed, they regenerate moments later and eliminate their attackers, only to discover that Copley filmed their recovery to expose their secret to the world. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, U.S. Marine Nile Freeman experiences a miraculous event. After having her throat slit in combat, she comes back to life without a scratch. Haunted by vivid dreams of people she doesn't know, Nile soon finds herself drawn into a world she never imagined existed. As Nile tries to make sense of what's happening to her, the dreams become more intense, visions of strangers and mysterious pain that she shares with Andy and the others. These shared dreams are how immortals find each other. Andy, the eldest of them, tracks Nile down just before she is transferred for medical research by the military. She kidnaps her from a guarded base and begins explaining the reality of their lives: immortality, endless battles, loss, and the price of never dying. Nile is reluctant to accept this destiny, but is taken to a safe house in France, where she meets the rest of the group. Joe and Nikki, deeply in love and centuries-old warriors, share their stories of fighting on opposite sides of the Crusades before becoming inseparable. Booker, a French soldier who fought under Napoleon, carries the burden of centuries of guilt and isolation. The group confesses one painful truth: their immortality doesn't last forever. Eventually, it fades without warning, as it did with their old comrade Lycon, the only one of their kind to die permanently. Nile struggles to decide whether to embrace her new life. She begins having recurring dreams of a woman trapped underwater, drowning endlessly. The others explain this woman is Quynh, the first immortal Andy ever discovered. Hundreds of years ago, Quynh was sentenced for witchcraft and locked inside an iron maiden, which was then thrown into the sea. Unable to die, Quynh has been trapped in a perpetual cycle of drowning and reviving ever since. Andy carries immense guilt over losing her, having failed to find and rescue her through centuries of searching. As the team bonds and Nile gets closer to understanding the weight of immortality, Merrick Pharmaceuticals, led by the ruthless and greedy CEO, Stephen Merrick, targets them. Obsessed with harvesting their DNA to unlock the secret of eternal life, Merrick sends an elite strike team to capture them. In a sudden assault, Joe and Nikki are ambushed and taken captive, while Andy is wounded and begins to realize something is wrong. Her wounds are not healing. For the first time in centuries, she is mortal. Booker, devastated by this realization and bitter from centuries of grief, secretly agrees to betray Andy to Merrick in the hopes of ending their suffering. He shoots Andy and hands her over, believing Merrick will use science to cure their immortality. Nile, having separated from the group to reconnect with her family, discovers the betrayal and uncovers Merrick's brutal plans. In London, Joe and Nikki are held in a lab, their bodies abused and tortured for data. Copley, who initially worked with Merrick to prove their abilities, begins to regret his involvement when he realizes Merrick's motives are not about saving lives, but about profit and power. Meanwhile, Nile makes a fateful decision to rejoin the team. Confronting Copley, she demands his help to save the others. Seeing the error of his ways, Copley switches sides and helps Nile plan a daring rescue mission, providing intel on Merrick's heavily guarded facility. In a high-stakes infiltration, Nile storms Merrick's London headquarters with relentless determination. She manages to free Joe, Nikki, Booker, and a severely weakened Andy, who is still unable to heal. With time running out, they confront Merrick. During the explosive showdown, Andy and Nile face Merrick in a final confrontation. Though Andy is now mortal and wounded, she fights with ferocity, buying Nile enough time to grab Merrick and leap out of a high-rise window with him. The impact kills Merrick, but Nile survives thanks to her healing powers. The mission ends in victory, but the aftermath is bittersweet. Booker, despite fighting alongside them during the rescue, is exiled from the group for 100 years as punishment for his betrayal. Andy, accepting her newfound mortality, says a heartfelt goodbye to him, ready to face the unknown years ahead as Immortal Woman. The remaining Immortals, Andy, Joe, Nikki, and Nile, reconnect with Copley, who presents them with a deeper truth. His research has shown that their past actions, even those they considered small, created a ripple effect throughout history. Descendants of the people they saved went on to become great leaders, scientists, doctors, and reformers, changing the world for the better. Touched by this legacy, the group tasks Copley with a new mission: to be their eyes and ears in the modern world, erasing their digital footprints and helping them find missions that maximize their impact. They move forward, now more aware than ever of the purpose behind their immortality. But just as the story seems to close, a final twist emerges. 6 months later in Paris, Booker, now alone and drinking in despair, returns to his apartment, only to find Quynh, long thought lost and presumed dead, standing in front of him. Her sudden return raises haunting questions, and the look in her eyes suggests that her centuries of suffering may have changed her in ways no one is ready for.